just something about when you just move stuff even a little bit in the podcast studio, it gives me this
throws you off.
anxiety of I've certainly messed something up.
Yeah. I've just done basically the world's quickest setup here, so I'm like, but we're good.
Yeah, that's hectic. The fact that you set up and break down, and that's why, because that shop is used for what otherwise?
It's basically our bike workshop. So my dad has a little, well, he's retiring soon, but it's basically his bike workshop. So I'm surrounded by bits of bikes, engines, all kinds of stuff. So you just can't see it.
Well, you do a good job setting up and taking down. I mean, you're consistent. Your shot looks good every single week, and you don't misfire. The technology doesn't break. So hey,
we're doing all right.
It's a win.
We're doing okay.
It's a win. We're smack dab in the middle of 12 Days of Christmas. I went live yesterday. Were you on my live?
I did. Honestly, yes, I was. That new live setup looked so good. Looked really good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, looked really good. How did you feel it went?
Oh, I had a blast.
Cool.
It was so fun because I mean, it's hard to describe the visual, but the camera that we're using for the live stream setup is basically, my live stream setup is directly in front of me where I'm sitting for the podcast studio. It's all in one space. The live stream camera has a teleprompter now, which is the teleprompter is basically a screen that's below the camera and it mirrors itself up onto the lens. So
wow.
Like, I don't know what it looked like when I was live, but the idea is that it just would look as though I'm staring at the audience. When I'm most of the time, actually, I wasn't reading a script in that situation, but I was reading comments. So I was able to, instead of like looking all around at my other monitors to see what people were commenting, I was just able to read the comments right on the lens.
That looks cool. It looked great.
Kind of cool.
It looked great. Yeah. I think your PJs set it off perfectly. So great. Yeah, they were unbelievably sexy.
We gave away the helmet that's right behind me. So it's the first ever TMA custom painted helmet. So we gave that away.
Nice.
We gave away, check this out. This was Dave's favorite part. Were you on for this part of the live stream?
I think I
might. Where I gave away my gear.
Yeah, so the no fear gear, right?
Yeah. So good. Okay. We gave away a collective experience with Dave Drakes, and we gave away my helmet. Those were the two things that were on the agenda. Mm-hmm. But then my dad stopped over and dropped off some gear. This is from when I was on maybe 65s, but maybe right when I got onto 85s.
That's so cool.
Legit, no fear with the Fast Cat. I don't know how well you guys can see it on the screen. The Fast Cat butt patch with the Chevy Trucks Kawasaki Team Green butt patch down the legs.
Yes.
The jersey all lettered up. And I mean, this stuff is in good condition too. So we gave this away to little Bo Gray.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
He's probably got to be, I don't know if I had to guess, maybe 9 years old or so. He went to a camp with us last summer.
No, he's like 5. Yeah, Bo's a little
He's that
guy,
young?
5 or
that's
6,
cool.
yeah.
So
no
good.
way. So, but he's a big kid. If he's really 5,
that's sweet.
He's a big kid for 5. He'd probably be not far off from fitting into this gear. So I'm like, all right, Bo,
perfect.
You can hold down the No Fear fort with the Fast Cat on the butt patch. I just thought that was super cool. We have, as of watching this, you guys, we've got 2 days left of 12 Days of Christmas. So tonight we're going to be giving away, all you have to do is get inside the app, join the live stream. We're going to be giving away an all access seasons pass, which is a couple $1,000s in value for 2026. So that's massive. And then, so this comes out on Christmas Eve. Okay. So then tomorrow, ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. We're giving away a trip giveaway to a 5-day camp of your choice. Wow. So that's going to be pretty epic as well. And yeah, like I said, all you have to do to win is just get inside the app.
Yeah, that's been popping off lately as well. Honestly, I've just so many new members in there. So many new app members.
Yeah, so
crazy.
It's gotten away from us a little bit. What's happened?
Yeah.
What had happened was we've been kind of working in the background to create this free tier structure because I don't know how much we've talked about this in the podcast, but basically the biggest problem is that people don't want to type in their credit card information, right?
Okay, yeah.
Which I get.
Yeah.
I get. Yeah. Until you know for sure what something is, even if it's a free trial, there's a lot of hesitance to type in your credit card information. And the way we had our kind of lead magnet set up before was a free trial. But the problem with the free trial is you have to type in the credit card information. So now what we've been able to do is create a free version of the app. which is very cool. So we can basically select certain spaces in there that are available to anyone to just create their account, no credit card information needed, and boom, they're inside of the app. They can see the live chat space. They can see one select course of our choosing. So they have access to one of the jumping courses, which is really cool. And then they have access to, is that it, Ethan?
Yeah, it's very limited. So
live chat. Live
chat and a course.
Limited. It's not very limited. Live chat and the one course.
Yeah.
The cool thing about the live chat now that the voice notes are available is I'm in there every day just sending voice notes to the live chat. So
how are you finding all these new people? Like, they could be wanting your attention, dude. So how are you finding that?
Here's going to be the hard part. It's like, how much do I and we, all of our paid staff in there, spend our time responding to the flood of new? Because I saw it this morning and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
You know, and people are taking advantage already. They're hopping in that live chat and they're going, hey, I'm 16 years old, I'm 5'10", and they're asking the bike questions. What bike should I get? You know, so they're bypassing where they would normally DM me.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna have to work the kinks out. And what's crazy is we haven't even announced the free tier yet, and it's not really super available, to be quite honest. It's on it's on one landing page that we don't post anywhere.
Okay.
So the fact that this many people are finding it is
huge,
kind of wild to me. Yeah, I think it's a good sign that it's going to do what it's supposed to do, which is just get a flood of people in there, present to them the value. Because what happens is people have no idea. It's hard for us to describe, and we've done a poor job in the past of really showing the value of the app. But it's a hard thing to do because people don't get it. And then once they get in there and then they send a question in, and next thing you know, it's me responding in a voice note directly to them to answer their question. They're like, oh,
yeah,
that's what this is?
That's huge. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
so
exciting.
I don't know. It's cool. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Wow. So we are literally nearly into January. Where's the year gone? Where's the year gone?
Yeah. Wow. 2026 is upon us. No more classes. We officially had our last class with Coach Mitchell last week.
Yep.
So now that means all eyes are set on 2026. And Al, you especially, we've been living in the future here at the Moto Academy for quite some time now. So I think the confusion is going to be when it actually turns 2026. I'm going to think it's turning 2027.
Oh, right.
We've been just a full year ahead for so long.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Just think the way the plan's going. You think, oh wait, okay, it's actually happening now, which is a weird concept.
Yeah.
So we got some pretty exciting classes coming up. Yeah. So we've got Kauai Creek in California coming up. That's January 12th. That is actually the class that launches our 2026 classes. So that's going to be cool. Great. So get yourself signed up, guys. We're then at Cedar Lake Arena in Wisconsin on January 15th. That class is already selling super well, so don't wait.
It's nearly sold out, so do not wait because that's an indoor setting. That one we hard cap. So and it's nearly there.
Yeah,
so
don't
do not wait on that one.
And then we're at a new track, Desert Peaks MX in New Mexico. So I'm excited for that one. Josh and the team there do a great job. So you're there on January 16th. We then go to Dreamville MX, North Carolina on January 19th. And then we are River Valley MX, Texas, January 19th as well. So some super exciting classes coming up. I'm pumped for it. Really pumped.
And we have our first camp coming up in January.
Yeah, we do. So we're at 74 MX in Florida. So that's already selling great. The guys there, they do a great job there. So I'm super excited for that.
I'm not talking to my mic. Whoops. 2026 is very much a year of us getting really good at what we're doing, I think is probably a good general way to describe 2026 internally for the Moto Academy. We're going to get really good at what we're doing. Part of that is we're not going to go to a ton more brand new tracks. We're definitely, how many new tracks for Moto Academy are we going to in 2026, would you guess? Less than 15?
Oh, yeah, certainly. Yeah, less than 15, definitely. I think the plan as well would be, I came up with the idea of sending you to those tracks because I think that would be a good way to kind of like, leverage you for those new places. So, yeah, you're right in the fact that it's just about... The cool thing is, I guess, because the Moto Academy is still so young in the grand scheme of things, we're still testing these things out. And for me, 2026 really feels like we're on a roll with something. We're on a roll with a good model, and we're just going to grow from it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I am excited, especially when you have those like the budget phone calls with our our finance person. It just kind of starts to all become more real, right?
For sure, yeah.
Where at the beginning, a lot of it at the beginning is me just making stuff up or us just writing things down in a notebook, and it feels like it's just cool how it kind of that manifestation takes those natural steps. What the heck what episode is this anyways? Are we at 170?
168. 168. Me and
almost
Ethan.
there, 168.
Yeah, me and Ethan just worked out, what was it, Ethan, that we're going to hit 200 next August? Whoa.
Wow. What the heck are we going to talk about this episode?
What? Yeah. Good question.
I got a handful of questions from the app community and then a few from socials. So just mindset and dirt bike related stuff.
Sweet. Do you want to hit us with some stuff, dude?
Yeah. Let's get right into it. So first up is a business related question from our guy Doug. Inside the app, he goes, "What's the long-term plan for the business structure of the Moto Academy? When is it going to be time for AJ to completely take his hands off the wheel for one reason or another?"
Al, you want to run with that answer?
So this is weird, right? I had this thing. I remember I called you about it. And I remember we talked about you kind of already stepping back, right, in your capacity, certainly from when it comes to classes. And I remember being really scared about that idea, because back then, I think the way we saw things, or the way I understood things back then, was you were the hero of the story. And I think I like the fact that our new perspective, the new perspective you brought to us, is the fact that the real true hero of the story is the consumer, and it's the customer, and it's the riders, right? So that kind of doesn't scare me as much as it did. But do you remember that I called you and I was like, dude, you can't you can't step back. Like, this is no. We're too young. The company's too young. You can't be doing this. And you were like, well, yeah, maybe, but maybe not. But now I think with that new perspective of the fact that actually you're not the hero of the story, that creates that opportunity for you to be able to do that. But I think it does require you to still be part of that growth process, for sure, for a few years to come, I would say. But what do you think about it? Where are you at with that? I'm sure it crosses your mind.
That's a good way of putting it. I think that you're right. The natural trajectory of us understanding that I am not the hero of the Moto Academy story, that you are. Not you, Al.
No, not me.
You are.
Obviously
I'm
not
now
me.
pointing at the camera. I mean, Al kind of is, but you guys mostly are. And that does organically lend itself to what I've always thought was what would happen, which is it growing into something much, much bigger than me. Right? It's hard because it's my baby, and I am still steering the vision, very much so. I mean, almost entirely so, but that's okay, and that's something I enjoy doing, and that's what I want to do for a long time. Now, I don't think I have to be at all of these classes. I don't think I have to be at all these camps. And I think that even for the customer, that takes for us to prove to them that that's the case. Right?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky though, because I think often, like, I think we've talked about it before. I might have mentioned this before, that you people do buy into what they class as the hero. And I think for a long, long time, and a good way to kind of like springboard this brand, you have been that, and you have been the face of it, you have been the hero of it, and it's taken that kind of shift in narrative in the process of the company, the kind of inner workings of it, to then recognize that actually the customer is the hero. But having said that, people still want you, and they still want to see you. But the way we move forward with that is we still have you available. So we have the app, and we have you in the kind of branding and in the kind of advertisement and all those things. And because the app has such a value, that people still can get you, right? And then what that does is, working with our new coaches, and we have an amazing group of coaches, they all bring the same level of value, but in a different style, which is really healthy for the consumer, because they get the same teaching but from a different viewpoint, which I think's super exciting.
It's incredibly important because if you're running around, if you're basing this whole thing off the theory of the assumption of the customer is the hero, we can't just assume that I have all the answers. I fear, and I've actually talked to you about this in the podcast a few times. I have a concern half the time what I'm saying nobody's even understanding. I'm not saying that in a condescending, patronizing type of way, but it's just like, you never know how somebody's going to learn something. And so it can't always come from my mouth. It has to come from other people and in different settings and said a slightly different way. And I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast yet or not, but I just read a book that really said it in an interesting way, and it kind of clicked. And I thought of you when I read it. It's that you never actually teach anybody anything. They teach themselves, and as a teacher, you're there as a guide to present information to where hopefully it makes enough sense to where they then restate it in their heads, and then the restating it in their head or out loud or in their head is what auto suggested to the subconscious, and it downloads it. That's the only way that information is actually getting downloaded into that person's brain and they're actually understanding. It's not you downloading that information. It's not you teaching the person. They're teaching themselves based off how they're listening to you. So
right, yeah, exactly. And it's not even me, or I say quote unquote me, the general me. It's not me uploading that information either. So jumping on the back of your point there, I think experience is key. So you're right in the fact that I can't teach anybody anything, but what I can do is I can show them my experience of said thing, and that way they can then create their own narrative or understanding based on my experience, right? And you tend to kind of sift through the information we get, right? Like a sponge, you take in the information and then you kind of reject or squeeze out the stuff that doesn't fit or work for you. But when it comes to it, I think experience is key. And I believe if you're in a position to want to teach people something, you need experience in that thing to be effective. The words you say can be really powerful, and the words you say can be perhaps even the right thing to say. But if you lack experience in that topic or in that field, you almost lack credibility to the receiver. Does that make sense?
Well, the experience is what conveys an emotion to somebody, and the emotion is what will actually get them to learn. So, and this is part of like what I've been wanting our content to feel more like is less of just, hey, do X, Y, and Z. No, I want to convey what is the feeling that this person gets when they understand it, when they have that light bulb moment, when they do it and try it and it works for the first time. Like, what does that feel like? What is that feeling like?
Yeah.
Because that feeling is what's going to inspire others. It's going to actually be what gets them to learn. And I do also think that there's a big visual to this as well. And this is why when I first started coaching, I didn't gear up and demonstrate, which is a crazy thing to think about in hindsight. And now it's like the visual is arguably one of the most important things. It helps integrate that experience, but it just makes it real. They can see it. They can try and emulate and copy it. Also, speaking of experience, I think that a lot of our other coaches have a lot more value when it comes to sharing their experience because it's a lot more relatable than mine.
Yeah,
Mine,
they've come through a different pathway, right? Simple.
Yeah, nobody at our classes has gone through my pathway, really.
No.
Started riding when they were 2, racing amateur nationals from the very beginning, turning pro when they're 16. Like, that's a pretty pointed pathway.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, like I basically specialized in something from the time I was 2 years old.
Yeah, and that's just not going to correspond to 98% of people. You're like a 1%er, dude, when it comes to that.
In a bad way, in the sense that like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a relatable experience to share. Where Coach Mitchell started riding, I'm pretty sure Coach Mitchell started riding when he was like 14 years old. So that's a much more relatable experience. He can tell stories and share things that he's gone through and the struggles that he's had. that's going to resonate so much more than the unrelatable. Oh, well, in fact, I can't really even answer that question because I've never thought about it that way because I've been riding since I was 2 years old. Whoopsie daisy. And that is, I guess, most of the reason why, though, the Moto Academy has been created in this niche that it existed in, especially at the beginning, which was kind of making the fast riders more relatable because nobody at the higher level was able to explain in simpleton terms like what this stuff meant. Does that and so that's where it kind of started. And then at the beginning, because everybody in my circle was just worried about either themselves and just trying to get better result wise for the races, or if they were training others, it was only at the highest level.
Yeah.
And it took for me to kind of look around and be like, what is actually missing here? Well, what is missing is there's a massive disconnect between what's going on here and people that are seeing this, they get inspired, but then trying to pick up their bike and ride it. There's zero roadmap from one thing to the other. Zero.
So if we're talking about kind of your experience, right? Yeah. If we're talking about your experience in comparison to say my experience or a listener's experience, what does, like, if we were going to talk about kind of, not to take it too deep, but if we were going to talk about trauma and struggle in life, whatever look that took, how does that look like for you growing up in that pathway where realistically you could easily say, someone from like myself could realistically say, well, there's no way AJ's experienced things how I've experienced them, and there's no way I've experienced things how AJ's experienced them. So what does struggle and pain and trauma and all that kind of thing, stuff I believe shapes us and helps us grow if we choose to look at it positively. What does that look like for you, growing up in that environment?
That's a really good question. And I was thinking about this last night because I was watching, I broke our new house rule, which is I turned the TV on before we went to bed.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I only make exceptions to that if it's something worth watching. And I put on
Dumbo.
It
was Dumbo.
Yeah. This might sound weird because I'm going to have to explain here for a second.
Okay.
But there's a new Netflix show that just came out with Simon Cowell. It's called The Next Act. Have you heard of it? Anybody know what that is?
Yeah, I've heard of Simon Cowell. I wouldn't go near the program, but I might end up now.
Well, and you might not find interest in it still, but I was looking at it from this lens that I'll explain in a second. You know who Simon Cowell is. His goal is basically he's made his living from like creating boy bands and now creating these TV shows to find talent. And this show, the premise of it is that there hasn't been a successful boy band in the US really since One Direction. He's trying to find that and build that next boy band. And so they're touring all of England to try and find the right fit and find these boys that make sense. These kids are 15 to 18 years old. Watching this show made me think of myself in that none of them are even remotely close to prepared for what pressure is involved in those types of situations. They were getting thrown into like these voice coach type of sessions where they was just moving so quick and they didn't know what was going on. Then they're in the studio and they're having to recite these lyrics that they didn't know, and it was moving so quick, and Simon's sitting there and the pressure of that. This whole show, I was just thinking the whole time going, oh my God, this is traumatizing.
That's hard. Yeah.
Traumatizing. So everybody thinks that their way was hard or whatever, but like my way was really hard. It was traumatized. The whole thing was so freaking high pressure. I cannot even explain it to you. With no guidance half the time. You know, one of the last episodes, we talked a little bit about parenting and secure attachment and versus the kid that sort of is out there left to fend for himself. And I was fighting for my life with no idea of what to do. And it just created so many, when you're in survival like that, the real life physical things, it's all your life situation. It's all so tangible and it all feels so real that you create these assumptions and you hold them to be true and you live one way and you become very set in your ways easier, I think, because you're just trying to survive. And so you have to be like, nope, this is the way that I'm moving forward, and that's it. Everything else is wrong. It's not relevant. I'm going this way. Yeah, and watching that show, it's just like these poor kids. And even when Simon would like tell them that they weren't a fit for the band, like they got so far in the show, and then he's like, no. He would just sort of say no and then walk away, and these kids are just, their whole lives have now been crushed, and they don't have a direction moving forward. So yeah, it's where I think the normal kid is maybe experiencing that, and everybody experiences that in their own way, whether they're getting bullied in school or their parents are super strict, or there's a million different life experiences that can shape that. But I think when you're tossed into a real world scenario of trying to be a professional athlete when you're 14 years old, or like these kids trying to make a boy band and just being in Simon Cowell's house trying to perform for this, and having no idea what they're doing, that's traumatizing, and that can shape you for the rest of your life if you're not careful in a negative way. And
when do you think that kind of trauma then, because I can definitely see how you'd relate to that, when you're thrown into an environment where you must perform, and you must perform to make good impressions, you must perform to connect with sponsors, and in the same way they are, in an age where it would be traumatizing for you as well. What does that look like in how you deal with that? Now you're technically the other side of that. So although for the
longest time it made me bad at those types of situations.
Okay.
Because I just started, when I was young and didn't know how to deal with it, I reacted poorly, and I would clam up and I would blow it essentially.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then that just became the storyline for 15 years. I didn't break that storyline for 15 years. So yeah, that's kind of where I was, I guess, going with that, of that trauma stamped me into one way of thinking and reacting. And I couldn't get out of it. So I consider myself being really bad at high pressure situations for a long time.
So when you got to a stage where you recognized that, maybe you didn't, I don't know if you recognized that, how did you then apply yourself, or how did you go about straightening that or fixing that problem, that kind of, like, because that stuff is traumatic, and it is whether you could say that's you just got to suck it up, get on with it. That stuff does affect us, and it affects us cognitively. It affects how we negotiate the world, and it affects how we negotiate conversation. Every detail of our lives is affected by the stuff that has gone on in the past. I don't care who you are, that's just fact. So I guess my question would be, how have you gone about dealing with that?
I think I was lucky to have the realization that none of it shapes who you are. Because that's ultimately what it is, right? The past affects your current because you have identified with the past. So in some way, shape, or form, and it's created your triggers, it creates your personality, your identity, your personal reality of the now. But you can be hyper aware and not let it do so. And I just had a light bulb moment reading a book, and I was reading Think and Grow Rich. I've told this story before, but I was reading Think and Grow Rich in 2021, and I had a light bulb moment of, like, I felt everything shift all at once. And I think I followed that up by reading, it's right behind me, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, which is an entire book all about self-image and identity. And I had a complete epiphany of, oh my God, this is a different reality that I can live in, that takes all the pressure off. Because and again, when I watch those kids, the reason it's so traumatizing is because they're basing their whole identity on this moment. Do they get in the band or do they not get in the band? That can shape the rest of their lives because that's their identity, if they let it be, right? And they care so much about it. So they would blow their performance while they were trying to do their audition because they cared so much, and they cared so much because that was make or break to who they were. And I think,
I have a kind of I guess a deep question off the back of it. Do you feel like kind of your new style or new pathway of seeking knowledge has fixed or addressed those traumas, or do you feel in some way it's just put a band-aid on them?
Yeah, so this is where you and I differ in our thinking. And I wonder, did you see somebody for a long period of time, or was it like, I just wonder where did you gain your knowledge from when it comes to like all of this stuff?
So
I don't know if I've ever asked you that.
Yeah, this is the simplest way I can answer this. Experience. That's it. All the knowledge I have, every single thing I have, I do not have any knowledge about stuff I've never experienced. So everything I think.
So you never had a therapist?
No.
For a long period of time or something?
I tried therapy for like 2 weeks. It didn't work for me personally. So everything I quote unquote know, and it's not a lot, is all purely based on experience.
So your question was, do you think it was potentially, do you think it can fix or did fix, or was it a Band-Aid?
Yeah.
My belief would be that the goal is to not even necessarily unsurface the exact storyline of what happened, because you'll probably not ever figure that out to its complete accuracy.
So you don't see any value in kind of unpacking those traumas and
No,
okay.
I do, in the sense that I think it can help you find the source of the trigger.
Right.
But I think that some people take it way too far, and that's what a lot of like talk-based therapy would be based on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is just reliving and bringing all of these things up to kind of no end, and just like, okay, well, what are you doing? You're just kind of pulling the past back into the present, but why? I feel like a lot of people are never able to get past that next step.
Well, I guess
why
it would
be
on one level, I guess it would be so you don't continue those patterns. And I think if there's something that affects you as a 15-year-old, and then for myself, I'm now 40, the same things are still affecting me. If I'm able to go back to those, unpack them and process them and work out a strategy in my mind that's not going to allow me to keep getting sucked into those ways of thinking, that's where the value comes in unpacking those traumas and unpacking those things. And I've had things happen to me that are, they're dark things. They're not good things. And I don't think putting a Band-Aid on those experiences is how I process them. I think you've almost got to face them head on and then work out how you then attack those feelings and their negative connotations. And then you grow from that. You don't just kind of put a Band-Aid on it and go, hey, that happened, it sucked, but hey, whatever. I don't think that's the answer for me personally.
Yeah, well, I'm open-minded to all the ideas. I think that you're pretty stern in what you think works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
as are you, right? So we're the same on that.
No, I'm not.
Okay, you're not?
I think that I have I think I'm more on the right track. And the only reason I am able to say that is because the right track would be who feels better about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no other basis that's fair. Because then you'd be just comparing just to compare. I think that who is living, if you had a full bar that was loaded of like whose day is spent more in joy and in the moment and who's happy, who would you say that yours is or mine?
That would be tricky. I mean, I guess from to answer the question, I would say that there's an element of, in order to kind of deal with pain and trauma, you've got to face that, and when you face it, it's ugly, right? And it doesn't look happy, it doesn't look joyful. It's a process of going through that pain, and I think that's where I'm at. So I had a breakdown in 2015, and I won't go into the details of that now, but that's what happened to me. That's my experience, and I feel
2015 is when it was. I thought 2015 it was more recent for some reason.
Yeah, it's 2015. Yeah, so it's been a long 10 years. That's a long time. Damn. But I feel 100% that since that moment, well, not since that moment, probably 2 years into it, I realised that I'm climbing out of a metaphorical hole, and I'm rebuilding myself. And I feel that for example, when a bodybuilder is preparing for a competition or they go through pain and trauma in a sense as they traumatize their muscles. They go through pain because they're facing this. They go through sacrifice because they're eating clean, and that has all kind of effects on the mind and how we present to other people, right? So, but the outcome is what they're going through that for. And I guess, although your question would be who out of me and you is happier and who projects as happier, you, 100%. But I think I project as unhappy because I'm processing that stuff. And when I process it, I wear it on my sleeve. But that doesn't mean I'm unhappy in the real sense. It just means I'm going through some struggle in trying to kind of rebuild myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, but that moment is the only moment you have. So I don't know. This is an interesting conversation, but does that make sense? So it's like,
yeah,
that moment. Although I don't want to say it defines who you are. It defines who you are in that moment, because you're either being joyful or you're not. So yeah, this is a really interesting conversation, and everybody's different in this sense too. The book I'm reading right now, I hate to give you too many books because it's like, which one is he actually going to read?
I'm used to it, dude.
I'm reading Inner Engineering by Sadhguru, and he talks about responsibility. That's basically how the book opens up. And he says that really the key is you just have to have ultimate responsibility. And what responsibility, as he defines it, is your ability to respond. That's what responsibility is. So, and your ability to respond means how conscious and aware are you in this exact moment? Every waking moment of the day, how conscious and aware are you in this exact moment? Are you reacting to a trigger and reacting to something, or are you consciously experiencing something? When you're consciously experiencing something, you're not in the past. You can't be. So I think that's where I fully grasp that concept, and that's where I'm trying to be. You can't try to be there. You can only be there or you're not. But that's where I'm trying to be. Where sometimes I wonder with you, because you're so, you and I can have these conversations. I don't have these conversations with many people. And you understand it to a certain extent, but then you have these days where you call me and it's just like, what happened?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest hurdle for me is the application of the information you give me, right? And that always kind of winds back to the experience, where I feel that the most growth is not obtaining knowledge, but it's experiencing life and applying that knowledge. And that's where I struggle, because me and you will have these conversations, like you said, and you'll give me all this information, and it's all great information. It's all really good, knowledgeable information, but my difficulty is then applying it. But I feel that when I'm trying to, so when I'm feeling depressed, or I'm feeling a certain way, or whatever, however you want to label it, I am fully conscious of me, that feeling, that moment. I'm fully in the moment. And for me, a big way of dealing with my mental health issues is recognizing to just be in that moment, and to be like, hey, this feels bad, this doesn't feel good, but I'm gonna walk through it, not really throwing knowledge at it, but I'm gonna experience this in my day-to-day life, right? So what does it look like when you feel depressed and you've got to be a father, you've got to be a husband, you've got to go to work, you've got to, book tracks, what does it look like to apply yourself to life when you feel that way? And that for me is where I'm able to build that muscle and that strength. And as I'm rebuilding myself, that's how I do it, right? So I guess a lot of the information you give me, I struggle to apply it. That's why you seemingly don't see any real progression, or you see a regression, right?
Yeah. And Mike and Andrew sent me a message in the app this morning. And he said he had a moment this week where he used that exact word. He's like, I really regressed. He's like, he said relapsed.
Relapsed.
He goes, I relapsed. I had a big moment.
Love that.
And he goes, I had a serious moment of frustration and kind of created an outburst. And he goes, I'm a bit embarrassed by it. And so he asked me what I do in those situations. I think it's important for everyone to know that I don't care if you're Sadhguru or Tormented or Al, everybody's gonna have those relapse moments, you know? Yeah, because unless, and I can't even use an unless. There's so many things that shaped you in even unconscious years, 0 to 8, that you have no idea about, but they're in there somewhere.
Yeah, and they're core memories, core experiences. Yeah, I agree.
You spend the rest of your life trying to kind of walk yourself up out of that. So that's why nobody has.
Yeah, could you see where I was coming from when I asked about kind of, is that knowledge a band-aid? Because sometimes I look at you, for example, and I class you as a friend, right? I hope you class me as a friend too, but I want to be able to, I see people and I see what they're going through and I see what they're facing. And I often think to myself, I've had moments where I've been worried for you, because I'm like, are you seeking knowledge to cover up a trauma that you don't want to face? And sometimes from my perspective, because I'm in a position where I don't want to face the traumas, but I feel that's my best way to do it, which is why my life looks so up and down, because each day I have to face a new thing or work through a new thing. So I've kind of, I'll be honest with you, it's been a few weeks where I've wanted to talk to you about this and talk to you about kind of your perspective of seeking this knowledge.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that in those light bulb moments and having that, like, those epiphany moments when I experienced, I didn't just learn, and I experienced something. I experienced the shift internally that proved to me that that's what faith is, right? That's like what a true belief, like that's what faith is. You can't just point it out and that's faith. No, it's something internally that is different, that shifts. Something happened when I started learning, and learning was the tool, and then what I've learned, I guess, is that the learning is the tool, and it's a good tool, because the ultimate, the change is the objective. The objective is to be aware in this moment, but it's to change. It's to change.
Yes, that's to be the best version of yourself, right?
Yeah, it's just to consciously evolve. So just to change, and consciously evolving just means changing. That's it. So yeah, to me, when I read and learn, it isn't to acquire more facts that I could just say on a podcast. You know, it's, I feel it changes me. I feel different. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So I'm lucky, I guess, to where, like, I know everybody doesn't get information in that way, but for whatever reason, when I read, I'm able to conjure up certain feelings, and I change because of it. And that's why it sucks, because I always recommend people to read, but I know most people are, like, hear that and they're like, wow, what? That doesn't work for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you get frustrated with me when that kind of, the stuff you've experienced, right, through taking in that information, you then kind of, you then want me to experience that same thing. And because I'm not you and we're so different, that then doesn't land with me like it lands with you. And you're like, what is he doing? What, how is he getting this so wrong? But it's not necessarily that, right? But I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that.
I get frustrated. The only reason I get frustrated is because I like you. I don't really care about many people, right? Rightfully so, because I'm focused on myself. Most people aren't focused on themselves, and therefore that's why they're, just can't figure it out. My belief, it's very much put your mask on first before helping others, and I'll stand by that. Like, knowing yourself is the most important thing, and then you can help others after that. But I get frustrated because I'm like, sometimes I feel like you're like there, and you feel like, you have great days. Obviously, you'll string together a bunch of great days, but then you'll call me and you'll just have such a low day out of nowhere, like seemingly out of nowhere. I'm like, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it's never really those low days and those, and like I can be open on this podcast. Those low days are low. They're bad, and I have really bad dark feelings, and that's really difficult to kind of work through. And a lot of it is because of my past and the things I've experienced and the things I've gone through, and I guess a lot of it is to do with the kind of the unwiring of my brain. Whatever happened to me in 2015, it injured my brain, I guess, for a want of a better term. So it's very difficult as well to sometimes kind of ride that roller coaster. And the thing is that gets me the most frustrated with my life and the way I kind of process life and navigate life is the fact that it's a roller coaster, and those moments of darkness, they're never triggered seemingly by anything. They just happen. And that's where kind of applying that knowledge or that game plan to that is it doesn't work, because I can do that for X amount of days. I can apply, AJ told me to do this, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it, because that seems like good. That's good knowledge. It's good advice. But then I'll have Wednesday will come along, and suddenly that's all just wiped out, and I've then got to almost go, I've got to start again now. Which is when I then,
and you understand that that's because it's so deeply subconscious, right?
For
Meaning
sure,
it's so deeply a part of your body that you can't even pinpoint. You're like, where did that just come from?
And I also think,
part.
but I don't necessarily. I've got to the point where I don't necessarily avoid feeling those dark days, because I know that each time I have it, they're kind of getting less and less in a sense. And I think each day that I have those feelings and those kind of thought processes and the way my head is going, each day I work through it when I've got those is making me stronger. And it's showing that, it's showing to my boys that you can push through these things and you can handle stuff that is thrown at you, whatever it is. So I want to be careful how I say that. I almost value those experiences because they enable me to keep going, but sometimes they're just overwhelming. They're just overwhelming.
That is where you want to be careful in how you say that, because you're right in that, like, you don't have to keep doing it. It's like, I think you had kind of, I'll use past tense here, I think you had created such a story for yourself that just became who you are. It became your brand, Mind Moto. Like, that's what it became, your identity. And so now it's you've got to you got to keep, there's little things you can keep chipping away at. You're absolutely headed the right direction, but it's just still a deeply ingrained identity. So much so that it's so subconscious that, like you say, you can't even sometimes figure out what the trigger was. Even when you really self-reflect and think about it, that means it's so deep in there and hardwired. Not to say that it can't be reset, but
I think also some of the things,
you need an experience that is so emotionally
detached.
You need such an emotional experience to be able to reset whatever emotionally hardwired that program.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that when we've talked, I guess it's frustrating for me, and I can be honest with you, but some of the things that I find frustrating when we talk is that you almost suggest I choose to be like it, right? And I know that's kind of a narrative you do go with sometimes, that these things are, we always choose them, right? Because that subconscious connection and that ego and whatever that kind of looks like, I'm still working out how that looks like in my life, right? But sometimes I feel that when we've talked, I've kind of hung up the phone or the conversation's gone a certain way, and I've been like, dude, I think AJ thinks I choose to be like this when I don't in any way. And that's the bit that's scary, because these dark days suddenly come upon me and I'm like, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah, but you do in all those small little ways, or in the past ways,
in the nuanced
like I just said. I mean, you created a brand around it.
Yeah.
Is that not you choosing an identity? So
well, I think the reason I chose the brand around it, for example, is to show support, right, and kind of solidarity to other guys.
That became you telling your story every day. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but like then that just becomes you telling your story, and it's like, at what point is that not just writing your future? I mean, because you're saying it over and over again, and then it's probably conjuring up these little feelings, and then you say it over and over again. You can create whatever reality you want. At first, it won't happen because there'll be a disconnect between what your body is believing to be true and your subconscious mind and what you're saying out loud. But when you start to become really, really very, very precise with the things that are coming out of your mouth, eventually it'll just all align, and it will be the reality you want. It's the same way, like for me in earning money, or for me in doing certain things. At first I would say it and I would feel silly saying it. I would even feel weird writing it down. And then eventually it would just, like, reality was steering that direction. I could feel reality literally like going that direction, because it's where all of my focus was. Right. And my focus was no longer on, like, my reality before, just to create an example out of, I guess, the maybe the success ladder. I thought that I was taking one step forward and taking two steps back. And I would tell people that. I'm like, man, it just feels like I've taken one step forward and two steps back. Like I had momentum going, and then it just this happened and this happened. And I wasn't being intentional with I wasn't being responsible, I guess, with where my thoughts were. And now it's not even, at first it was a little bit like faking it till you make it, I guess. And now I'm just, you could call it delusional, but it's just my reality is my reality, and I've made it a good one.
So when you had those days, where you felt like you were taking two steps back, did you ever share that with anyone? Like in a sense, I know you said you did, but in a sense of like a real someone you would trust to receive their advice on it.
No, it was more like venting
into
not
the
to
ether.
a good source. Kind of, yeah. Just to somebody that I didn't know if I was going to get good stuff back. Maybe even I just subconsciously wanted them to say, "Oh, that sucks." You know, I'm sure people do that all the time.
So
and
when if you did then
just reinforcing it.
So if you did find someone who you could share it with, what would you want them to say?
Oh, well, you and I have had this conversation too. There was nothing that you could have told me.
Yeah.
I really don't think there was anything that you could have told me. I had to figure it out myself. And yeah, it didn't come from anybody's words. It came from me reading a book, and I don't really think it had anything to do with the book. I think it was just
from experience. It
was the timing of, it was just the timing. I was feeling a certain way in a certain moment, and I read a certain line at just the right time, and it conjured up this feeling of in this experience inside myself, and I was different. Because I could tell you to go read Think and Grow Rich, and you're not gonna get the same feeling necessarily. Right. And if I told Ethan to go read the same book, so it's like, it's tough. But speaking of reading, can I run upstairs and grab this book? I want to read a line from it
100%
for a second, and I want to see what you think of it.
We'll go to commercial break.
You can pull us into a commercial break. Okay, you ready for this, Al?
I'm ready for story time. Yeah, hit me with it.
This book is, I'm just going to read the whole thing. This book is crazy. So Sadhguru is a yogi. He's a yogi guru, and he tells the story of how he went up on to Chamundi Hill, which is where he grew up in India. And he had this life-changing experience when he went up onto the hill, and kind of, I guess it sounded like just a bit even more extreme moment of kind of what I had when I read that book. And then he goes on, and the chapter is called When I Lost My Sense. And this paragraph goes on to say, there is something within every human being that dislikes boundaries, that is longing to become boundless. Human nature is such that we always yearn to be something more than what we are right now. No matter how much we achieve, we still want to be something more. If we just looked at this closely, we would realize that this longing is not for more. This longing is for all. We are all seeking to become infinite. The problem is that we are seeking it in installments. I don't know why, but that I got my highlighter out right away, and I dog-eared this page, and I'm like, holy cow. That is so true, and that explains it right there. If we just looked at this closely, we would realize that this longing is not for more. the longing is for all, because we are all seeking to become infinite. And the problem is that we're seeking it in installments.
So we're going into the candy store and we want all the candy, but we're taking little handfuls and thinking that's going to be the answer.
And this is why when you bring up goal setting and having to have a tangible goal to achieve, that I guess where people can steer themselves wrong is that isn't the point. The point is to get a little bit better every day, and basically you're on your journey back home, right? Like we had this conversation once before, but like what happens when you die, or what happened before you were born, Al? Where were you?
Yeah, just floating.
You were connected with all that is.
Yeah.
And that's where you're headed when you die. And that is what he's referring to here is infinite. And that's what we're all kind of craving. And we're assuming it just means we want a little bit more, but we don't want a little bit more. We want all that is. We want the connectedness to all that is.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Ethan, just, I want to talk about dirt bikes for a little bit if we can. What do you reckon, AJ? Let's go steer it back to bikes a little bit.
Let's talk dirt bikes.
Yeah. Do you have any questions that we can answer about?
Oh, wait, bikes, I have another page I want to read.
Okay, do that.
You're going to like this one even more. Okay, you ready? This is a story. On a certain day, a bull and a pheasant were grazing on a field. The bull was grazing and the pheasant was picking ticks off the bull, a perfect partnership. Looking at the huge tree at the edge of the field, the pheasant said, "Alas, there was a time I could fly to the topmost branch of the tree. Now I do not have enough strength in my wing to even get to the first branch." The bull said nonchalantly, "Just eat a little bit of my dung every day and watch what happens. Within 2 weeks, you'll get to the top." The pheasant said, "Oh, come on, that's rubbish. What kind of nonsense is that?" The bull said, "Try it and see. The whole of humanity is onto it." Very hesitantly, the pheasant started pecking. And lo, on the very first day, he reached the first branch. Within a fortnight, he had reached the topmost branch. He sat there just beginning to enjoy the scenery. The old farmer, rocking on his chair, saw a fat old pheasant on top of the tree. He pulled out his shotgun and shot the bird off the tree. Moral of the story, bullshit may get you to the top, but it never lets you stay there.
That's great.
That's a good one, huh?
That's great. I like that. Yeah. That's so true. So true. Yeah. I love that.
All right, hit us with some on the back of that. Ethan, hit us with some dirt bike questions.
How do we follow that?
This one's from social media. They ask, what's the fastest way to improve cornering technique?
Al, how do you go faster in corners? Tour manager Al.
So, first of all,
pin
it. Pin it. Just send it. First of all, you slow down. Simple. Now, everyone is going to hate on me for saying that because nobody's going to get it. I hope people get it.
You suck.
Yeah, you suck. Yeah, this British bloke. What's he on about? But no, to go faster in a turn, you have to start at a point where you've slowed down. And slowing down just creates... It helps you to see things clearer. It helps you to see things with more perspective. And it also enables you to work on those little essential technique things that enabled you then to increase your speed. Now, speed has to come from a good foundation. You can't build a house on a bad foundation. The house will crumble down. So you've got to slow down, build your foundational technique, and then speed will organically come from a position of solid technique. Simple, but you have to slow down. You got to slow down to go quicker, AJ.
Corner responsibly. Corner responsibly. You have to be able to respond to the corner, right? And the way you'll be able to respond to the corner is by slowing down and just being more aware of what's going on in the first place, and also eliminating variables. So I always start with the stand up. For gosh sake, stop sitting down at the beginning of the turn. Even if you think it might be working, stand up. Get off the controls, stop using the clutch, get off the brakes, stop shifting mid-corner for no reason, and feel the corner for what it is. Where do you have traction? Where do you not? What does that bump feel like mid-corner? Where do you need to apply a little bit more pressure to the outside foot peg? Does it work if you roll the throttle on a little bit earlier? Does it work if you come into the corner with a little bit more speed and coast through the first part of the turn?
Mm-hmm.
When you start to kind of learn how to respond to the corner, you can create an actual game plan. And I think that most people just sort of have the assumption of, I'm going to sit at the beginning, put my foot out, and try this corner the way I try every other corner, even though it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
100%.
Yeah, and I would shoot, if you're one of the fastest people in the world, still try this. Still try it, because you'll have moments of, okay, I don't have to sit until here in this corner, and now I know why. Right? Always question your assumptions is a good place to start. So don't assume that the way that you're doing it is correct, even if you're almost certain it's correct. Question the assumption. Try it with the reset technique of standing up, and yeah, you'll be onto something. But yeah, good answer, Al. Ethan, hit us with another one.
Good answer, AJ.
Thanks.
This is a pretty interesting one here. So, AJ, this might be more for you. Do professional riders ever train on beginner tracks? Why or why not?
Oh, yes. So when I was at Jet and Hunter's house, the one thing that they did, which I had never seen this before, they had a corner track, which I wouldn't say was extremely basic because they let it get rough, but then they just had a grass field. And sometimes the reset, if it was going poorly enough on a given day, was to just go ride in a tight circle in the grass field. And it was to do exactly what I was just describing, which was to then create a reset and a sense of feel and a little bit more of an ability to respond to what your bike was doing. Where do I have traction? Where do I not? How much pressure do I need here? Where should my body be forward and back? It was just to go in a tight circle. I mean, the most basic, not like overly tight to where it was like trials riding, just a circle. That's it.
Interesting.
That was Jet and Hunter Lawrence, just going in a circle.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if it's not too, if they're not too good to go in a circle, then you're
Neither
not.
are you.
Yeah. Ethan, hit us with another one.
Awesome. So another one, this is more habit related. What are habits that have the biggest impact for performance on the bike that you take off the bike? It's like, what habits off the bike make the best improvement for performance on the bike?
I have one. Al, what would you say?
So I've got to try and unpack that question a little bit in my head. What habits? Can you say it again, Ethan? Sorry.
Yeah. What habits off the bike have the biggest impact on performance for on the bike? So what can you do off the bike that will help you automatically when you get back on the bike?
You're
Interesting.
going to say what I'm going to say. Come on. You got it.
Probably. I think it's
Come on.
it's where we look.
Okay.
Right. So I think if what you're looking at in life, I think what we look at in life feeds us, and I think what we look at on the track guides us to where we go. So I think if you've got a good sense of where you're looking on the track, you basically go where your eyes go. So if you've got good eye speed, I know Jet talks about eye speed a lot. We can then, I think what we're looking at in life feeds us, right? And it can have a detrimental effect on us, or it can have a positive effect on us. And I think the same applies to the bike.
Yeah, that's great. My answer is posture. So,
okay,
how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you sit like a slumped loser, then off of the dirt bike, then you're probably going to sit like an absolute slumped loser when you're on the dirt bike. So simple solution. And the reason I say loser is because subconsciously, your body is it's not just your brain communicating to your body's also communicating back to your brain. So if I were to walk around like this, and this is in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, which I'm sure is right behind me. Chapter 1 is stand up tall with your shoulders back, because your body communicates back to your brain when you're slumped like this that you are a loser. Maybe that you just lost a fight, that you're not going to win the next fight that you're walking into, that you're just a loser. When you stand strong and tall with your shoulders back and your chest kind of puffed out, that is your body communicating to your brain that all things are a go. I'm confident. I feel strong. I am powerful. So there's so many benefits to it. Forget about just structurally. But if we're talking structurally, when you pull your shoulders back, it puts your hips into the correct position, more a little bit closer to that anterior tilt, which then allows your hips to be freed up. And that's the secret weapon. If we're talking anything that's kind of people still haven't caught on to of what is separating Jet from these other guys, it's It's the hips. It's all in the hips. And that starts with good posture. So think about it. Be responsible for your posture off of the dirt bike, and it will transcend onto the dirt bike, guaranteed.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Yep. Great answer.
Yeah. I'm full of them today, Al. How do you feel this conversation went?
Good. I mean, good.
Did you like it better than the last couple of episodes?
Yeah, I think so. I always find that. So I have this thing. I struggle with kind of to frame it. I'm best when I'm talking one-on-one with somebody in their company. Right. That's when I'm best. I'm not particularly confident on the phone. I'm not particularly confident kind of talking like this. So, for example, I'm not looking at AJ at the moment. I'm looking at my MacBook, right? And that's weird in my head because I've never done this before. So this is really new to me. And I've been finding myself just kind of slotting into a weird dynamic on these podcasts. And I hope that, people haven't been getting bored of.
Did you feel a little better today, or did you still feel a little 100%.
100%. I've intentionally gone, 100% better. Good. So I've intentionally thought to myself, I'm talking to AJ. I'm not talking to my Mac. And it's
Would it be helpful to where is your computer in relation to you, and how small am I on the screen?
So I guess you're about a meter. The computer's about a meter away from me currently because it needs to be out of my shot, but it needs to be close enough for me to see you. And you're like a G.I. Joe, dude.
Okay. So do you think it would be helpful if we got you like a monitor? And so you could see me on a big screen.
Oh yeah, definitely. That'd be cool because it would be, I'd literally be talking to you, which is, not physically.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Why don't we talk about that? Because
it just doesn't feel very natural.
I'm a sociopath.
Do you know what I mean? Do you agree?
I mean, I'm a sociopath. I can stare. I'm not even looking. I can't see you. Period. All I can see is
right.
I can kind of see my body down in the corner of my phone screen is on the other side of the room, so I can see my body in the corner. And then I see Ethan's notes, which just looks like a white page across my screen, and that's what I'm looking at. So I can't see you whatsoever. But that doesn't affect me at all. But I want you to, I want you to feel like you're into it.
For sure, and I did today.
Yeah,
I definitely did today.
Okay,
good. I hope that's come across.
You're not just saying it?
No, hell
You're
no.
Not just saying it?
No, you know me, dude. I'm honest.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. Moto Academy podcast. We've done it. Thanks for listening, watching, whatever the heck you did here. And
Merry
we will
Christmas.
Catch you next episode. Merry Christmas. That's right. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. And we'll see you in 2026. Toodaloo.